think culture is the differences that bring people together and make them unique and make their lives unique.
I guess entails a lot of things, like music, art, food, I don't know, the whole nine yards.
Culture is when a large group of people generally express similar interests in music, art, performance.
Culture represents me and the environment I'm in at any one moment.
Well, culture affects how you think about your relationship to the whole world. How people interact with their place and with each other and with themselves.
Do you think culture impacts the environment?
Short answer, yeah, because I mean different cultures act in different ways. You know, we are building a culture here in the US right now and we're destroying the environment. Our culture currently is hurting the environment, so of course it does.
Today, I mean, if you go to a river that's polluted, there are rivers that have burned, and the river didn't create the sludge on top of it that burned. The culture created that.
Culture affects the environment. I think in many ways culture is part of the environment. Culture comes from the environment that we're set in. The actions that we take on a daily basis, the rituals we practice, the way that we interact with the world, the music, the language, it all comes from that.
Does culture impact the environment?
Yeah, definitely. In a place like Portland, you know, where people are sort of, I don't know, more environmentally conscious, that's definitely culture to me.
I think culture can impact the environment because the culture here in Oregon and the United States is way different than the environmental culture in like Italy where I just was. We have like littering laws and recycling and all these other things, and for the last 2 months I had to deal with like no recycling and no like garbage cans in public and people just throwing things on the ground and not even thinking twice about it. So I think it's the culture that we grew up in to be like environmentally conscious, and something that like Sicily is just now starting to see.
Culture definitely affects the environment. If your culture is one that says money is the most important thing, then you're going to relate to your environment as if, you know, money is more important than trees, or money is more important than having a connection with another person.
I think of his environments as the place where you exist and the things that surround you in that place.
Interconnected. It's like a big puddle of water. Anything you do to it, anything you throw into it makes waves and has an effect on everything else.
Nature.
The outdoors.
Liquid. In terms of the environment, all of it flows together like water would.
Home and wilderness.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's just life, like living, moving, breathing, life, greenery, people, and that's the environment.
There is an increasing global movement to revitalize Indigenous culture and languages. This movement has the potential to enhance environments in order to fit a more sustainable model. I plan on documenting this movement in order to figure out whether it can truly play a key role in environmental sustainability.
From 1973 to 1978, I worked as a linguist for the Proyecto Lingüístico Francisco Marroquín, or PLFM, in Guatemala. National language of Guatemala is Spanish, and of course Spanish then is the language of education and the government and so on. And the native languages were often denigrated, and we were attempting to raise awareness of the value of those languages. In particular, we were trying to raise that awareness amongst the native speakers of the languages themselves. I personally worked mainly on Oaxateco and Quiche. We thought that this was important because the native peoples of Guatemala comprise probably at least half of the population, and that what we were trying to do was to create a team of native speakers of the languages who, if they so desired, would try to revitalize the language. The way we did our work was that we had a group of students who were native speakers of the various Mayan languages. they created projects back in their villages to teach people to read and write the languages and things of that sort. So we worked together compiling a dictionary, and they also consulted with the linguists on the grammar of the languages. I feel at least that we did help raise awareness of the languages and the values of the languages. We trained quite a few people to have the ability to study their languages and know about their languages, and many of those people have now gone on to continue their work through other organizations or as bilingual teachers and things of that sort.
You know, I think Tryon Life, this is my first time here, but I think it's a great example of how to figure out how to be in right relationship with the ecological system. We are a part of the environment. Human beings are a part of, not a part from. So I think we impact our environment just by breathing. We breathe in, we breathe out. We are then a part. We drink, we're so much % water. Permaculture is pulling from indigenous wisdom and natural patterning, and so the indigenous cultures on the planet, most of them at some point found a harmonizing balance of relationship with their environment. You know, permaculture is based in relationship and responsibility. I think that the indigenous cultures and wisdom have a lot to offer in showing us the right way of being. What we call resources, native communities called relatives. If there was a way to revitalize the indigenous wisdom that is inherent in these cultures and actually accentuate it and bring it out and bring it forth, and then, you know, I think that there could be some healing and reconciliation that needs to happen in order to bring our culture and our way of being back into right relationship, because we're extremely out of balance. We see systems that are being implemented that don't take into consideration a lot of the ecological systems and what their needs are. They're often seen as externalities as opposed to integrative parts of the system. One thing that we all do is that we poop and we pee, and, you know, and we eat and we give back through not a waste but a nutrient recycling system that we are, you know. So there's all different ways you can frame that and look at it, but how do we take that waste and actually see it as a resource and integrate it back into the environment in a healthy, regenerative way? I think if we want to find a way to be in better relationship and sustain and actually go and work like a forest and find the ways of regeneration, we can then come into a place of abundance. Abundance by design really is what permaculture promotes, and that's what indigenous cultures promote. You know, so it's how do we find the way to restore and find our place again in nature.
Hello, friends and relatives. My name is Rose Highbear, and I'm Deghaton Dene from McGrath, Alaska. I am co-founder of Wisdom of the Elders. It's a Native American nonprofit corporation here in Portland, Oregon. And our mission is cultural preservation, education, and race reconciliation. We have over the years recorded over 300 Native elders, environmentalists, storytellers, and cultural artists. And we share their messages with the world, especially with our own Native people and younger generations. We have produced a radio series, Wisdom of the Elders Radio, and we've had linguistic segments in it where we talk about the root of the language of the tribe that we're honoring. Native languages are very important. They are endangered, and if we lose our languages, we lose a lot of the root of what our life is about. Our way of describing the world of nature, our way of speaking about the 4 seasons and all the activities that our people engage in, so it would be a huge loss. Native Americans are very spiritual people. We pray. We look at all of God's creation as a relative. We do not feel that we dominate the world of nature, but that we live in balance with the world of nature. And we believe that, quite frankly, we learn a lot of our teachings from animals, birds, the forest, the 4 winds. These are things that teach us. And I think this is really important. This philosophy that we have of oneness with the world of nature is very important for other people, to look at that as a model for the way that they could lead their life as well. To us, it's living in harmony and balance and connected with Great Spirit through Great Spirit's creation, which is the world of nature. It's very important to us that we see our people beginning to have a new understanding, a richer, deeper philosophy of life, where they can actually have happiness and fulfillment, living in a spiritual manner, balance, mind, body, spirit, and emotions. And I think that, our people are beginning to serve as an example in that way. We're working on the cultural renaissance that's occurring in Native America today. There is a cultural renaissance going on. For over 150 to 200 years, depending on the tribe, it was illegal for our people to participate in a lot of their traditions. So our ceremonies, our dances, our songs, many of our things became illegal. We could be arrested or even our medicine man murdered if they were participating in ceremonies and other activities that were cultural, because the federal government was trying to turn us into a new kind of person, who could accept Western way of living. In 1978, the Freedom of Religious Act changed, and it allowed our people to participate in ceremonies again. And as a result of that, we've been able to save our ceremonies, our songs, our dances, and so there's a huge cultural renaissance going on today in Native America. There are over 560 Native tribes in America, and they're more or less all revitalizing right now, respecting the way that our elders and our ancestors used to do things. We want our youth to become scientists. Native Americans were America's first scientists, and we need to restore our position in the field of science and work along with Western science to help to restore our environment. I will probably do this work until I die. This is my life. I love it. I've done it now for over 20 years, and I'm hoping I have another 20 years to dedicate to that, to wisdom of the elders.
So it seems there is some kind of understanding of the relationship between culture and environment and Indigenous culture and its positive attributes. You heard earlier of several ways culture impacts the environment and of other people's words describing the environment. In my research, I will be focusing on how thought and behavioral patterns of people change when undergoing a social change known as cultural and linguistic revitalization, such as the Pan-Maya movement in Central America, which is working to preserve Mayan heritage. This video is only the beginning. We have just skimmed the surface of this movement. I want to venture out to find concrete examples that the revitalization movement has indeed affected culture and physical environments. I would like to take this study globally, but first I will start off close to home. See you next time in Central America.